I believe that every child has a distinct personality and that they need a classroom environment that is safe, caring, and engaging. For a child to become the best person and student that they can be, they need every opportunity to grow and mature in the classroom. They need to be challenged not only mentally, but emotionally and socially. It's the role of a teacher to be a facilitator of these challenges, to ensure that students are truly reaching the goals they set for themselves and that they are growing into bright, thoughtful students. Being a teacher is an incredibly high calling, and as such, it is an enormous responsibility. There are a few important components of being a teacher that are incredibly important to me. A teacher must be a leader in their classroom. A teacher must have the ability to create a safe and diverse environment for their students. And a teacher must allow their students to explore the world around them while making sure they are respecting their peers and the other teachers. According to the North Carolina Professional Teaching Standards, the first standard a teacher must meet is being a leader in their classroom. To be a classroom leader, I must set certain guidelines and rules for my students. It's important that those rules be taught early and that they're enforced when necessary. A teacher should be firm at the beginning of the year to cement their role as leader of their students and set the tone for the classroom. In order to be a true leader in their classroom, a teacher must have the ability to guide their students in their studies and in their lives. In order to be able to reach the goals students set for themselves, they have to first feel safe and secure in their classroom environment. It's my duty as the classroom teacher to create this environment as well as gain my students' trust by showing them that I care about them not only academically, but socially and emotionally. It's vitally important that students have the ability to express their curiosity about the world around them in an engaging and educational way using project-based learning. I must have the ability to maintain a balanced classroom environment which includes but is not limited to creating a respectful and open atmosphere in which the students can thrive. Allowing students to establish open and respectful dialogue when working in the classroom is extremely important. Those who are truly committed to being great educators accept the fact that their own education never ends. Every year there are new methods or procedures that I have to learn and incorporate into my practices. I believe that being an educator is a wonderful and amazing calling, and it's one that truly requires dedication and empathy to reach students. As a future teacher, I will do everything to lead my students by example, creating a classroom environment in which they feel safe and secure in order to explore the world around them, expressing their own curiosity.
Your best guess at how to pronounce these people's names. Parker. We know it's the music of the underworld, the story of who? Parker's trying. Close. Orpheus is right. Who wants to try the other? Raising your hand. Well, here. Patrick. Not quite. Everybody's saying Eurydice. Who said Eurydice? That's not quite right. Oh, Carson. Almost.
Eurydice.
What do you think, Carl? You guys are so close. Eurydice. Her name is Eurydice. This is music of the underworld, the story of Orpheus and Eurydice. No, Orpheus was a man, Eurydice you ready? We're going to start reading. Now, as we read, I need you to be paying attention because you never know when I might call on you to read. Alright? You ready? Everybody got the myth in front of you? Alright, Music of the Underworld, the story of Orpheus and Eurydice. Orpheus was the most cherished musician in all of Greece. When he played his lyre, birds would stop chirping just to listen to him play. What do you think a lyre is? If a person plays it. Like a harp. It's like a harp. It's a type of musical instrument that looks like a harp. Okay. Orpheus was also in love with a beautiful wood nymph named Eurydice. Eurydice and Orpheus were so happy together. In fact, many said his music became even sweeter to the ear after he met Eurydice. They were absolutely perfect for each other. So soon, the couple was married. Their marriage was celebrated with the most joyous music Orpheus had ever played. Eurydice danced around as her husband strummed the lyre. But their happiness ended abruptly. What does abruptly mean?
Like super fast, like
Suddenly, out of nowhere it ended.
like vaporized.
It ended abruptly when Eurydice stepped on a venomous snake. The fangs of the snake left a deadly bite on her ankle. Orpheus rushed to his young bride's side, but there was nothing that could be done for Eurydice. His wife was gone. Orpheus experienced overwhelming grief for the loss of his wife. What is overwhelming grief? Extreme sadness, despair.
Aren't those the same thing? And didn't we have despair?
We did have
Yes,
despair
we
on our
did.
lips. That's why I'm glad you used it. He did not know how he could live without her. This gave him an idea. Maybe he would not have to live without Eurydice. He decided that he would go to the underworld to see if he could reclaim his love. He was not sure if this plan would work, but he had to give it a try. With his lyre in tow, he made his way to the underworld. Orpheus reached the entrance of the underworld. He followed a rocky path until he came to the river Styx. Charon was there. Charon was responsible for taking spirits across on the ferry. Orpheus requested a ride on the ferry, but Charon quickly refused. Orpheus did the only thing he knew to do. He closed his eyes, pictured his precious Eurydice, and began gently plucking the strings of his lyre. Even the stubborn Charon could not resist the beautiful music that came from Orpheus' lyre. Orpheus had made it past one obstacle, but soon found himself facing Cerberus, Hades' three-headed dragon. Where have we heard about Cerberus? Hercules. Good.
12 layers of miracles.
Good. This creature was ready to make Orpheus its next meal, but Orpheus was quick on his feet. He began playing a lullaby, and before long, all three heads were sound asleep. Orpheus crept past the sleeping beast. Orpheus continued to play his way through the underworld until he reached Hades' throne. Sitting beside Hades was his queen, Persephone. There, Orpheus pleaded his case and begged to have his wife returned with him. Then he did the only thing he knew how to do. He began to play his lyre. He played the saddest song. Hades and Persephone both took pity on poor Orpheus. Hades decided to allow Eurydice to return with Orpheus under one condition. He said Eurydice would follow behind Orpheus, and they could be together again, but only under that one condition. Orpheus had to agree that he would not look back until he was completely out of the underworld. He said Orpheus must have faith that Eurydice was there. So he's saying he's going to let Eurydice come back from the underworld, but only if Orpheus promises not to turn around and check that she's behind him. He's got to have faith that Hades is actually going to keep his word, right? Alright. Orpheus was overwhelmed with joy and set off to return home. He could hear the faint sounds of footsteps behind him as he made his journey out of the underworld. Orpheus was so tempted to turn around, but he knew he could not. He played music to distract himself. Finally, the sunlight was in the distance. Orpheus had almost made it. But suddenly, he felt fear. Gods were known to be cruel and tricky. What if Hades had tricked him and he had left the underworld without his wife? Orpheus was overwhelmed with doubt. As Orpheus neared the light of day, fear overpowered him, and he could not resist temptation. He had to turn around. When he turned around, he saw his beautiful bride, who looked just as lovely and as happy as she'd been on their wedding day. She smiled, but it quickly faded. Orpheus reached out to grab her hand, and Eurydice vanished. Orpheus was grief-stricken. He could hardly bear the fact that he had turned around too soon. He had lost his love forever. From that day on, his songs were those of sadness and despair. So, few words on here that I see on this chart that we definitely read in the myth. Tell me by raising your hand. By raising your hand on one word. Raising your hand only. Say liar. Very quickly, if you have not already done so, write down what you think the word liar means. Write down what you think liar means. Yesterday, we talked about cross multiplication. Now, for our friends who weren't here yesterday, can you tell me what cross multiplication is? CJ? Alright. It's another way of comparing fractions. It's another way to compare fractions. And for a lot of people, cross multiplying, it feels easier, it's got a lot less steps. So, Carson, so if we're comparing 7/14 and 5/15, when we cross multiply, we take the denominator of one fraction, we multiply it by the numerator of the other fraction. We are crossing the middle here. We multiply the denominator of one fraction by the numerator of the other fraction. Now, 14 times 5, is that something we just randomly know in our head? So we might have to work this one out. We work 14 times 5. Some people can do it really fast. 4 times 5 is 20. 5 times 1 is plus 2. So 14 times 5 is 70. Alright? Now, what we did to one side, we have to do the other. We have to multiply 15, the denominator of this fraction, by 7, the numerator of this fraction. Well, 15 times 7, what's 7 times 5? 35. 7 times 1 is plus 3. So 15 times 7 is 105. Now, Carson, just looking at these two numbers, which fraction is larger? 7/14 is larger than 5/15. It is greater than 5/15. Let's do one more just to make sure we remember. One more. Let's try 3/5. Let's compare that to 1 Now remember, when we cross multiply, denominator times the numerator of the fraction, what's 9 times 5? 45. Now 19 times 3, 9 times 3 is,
57.
hold on, just give me 9 times 3 first. 27. 3 times 1 is plus 2, so 57. So 3/5 is greater than 9/19. Why would you think 9/19 is greater? It's a bigger number, right? But the bigger the number of fractions, the smaller they are. Teeny tiny. If we did a 19th fraction bracket, teeny tiny. All right. I need Brenda and Tamara.